I don't like to give puppets too much attention.
This is some sad news about South Africa.
What up, guys? In today's video, we have a very interesting one, and that is all about Pan-Africanism. We're going to talk about Burkina Faso, South Africa. We are also going to talk about Ethiopia and so many other things. But let's listen to these videos first, and then I'll be back and do a thorough and deep analysis. Let's jump in.
Family, fortunately, we are in Burkina Faso again. Like I said in the other video, I don't know how Captain Ibrahim Traore does it. I don't know the miracle. I don't know the magic he uses. But what that man does, sometimes you don't even know what to say. Can you see what's going on? Last year, he brought hundreds and hundreds of electric buses to facilitate transportation, urban transport, inter-urban transportation, to make life easy for Burkinabés. Just today, the Prime Minister is handing over 375 new electric buses again to the Burkinabe Transportation Company to furthermore facilitate the transportation of Burkinabés. I don't even know what to say anymore, right? I really don't even know. Again and again, he is achieving all of these miracles with funds from within the country. He knows that is the best economist we have ever seen. Forget this thing people go to learn in school, and he knows how to practically optimize the resources of his country, making corruption to be at almost zero, making sure that accountability is the order of the day, and with that responsibility, and everybody is ready to build. Why would the country not make a lot of money to build their country? Make a lot of money to guarantee that every citizen has access to basic necessity that we don't have in most of our countries in Africa. And he does that with funds from the country, not borrowing, not running to the IMF, not running to the World Bank, not running to any international or local institution to borrow any money. This is magical. I just want to say shout out to Captain Ibrahim Traore. Shout out to his government. Shout out to the people of Burkina Faso. Le pays des hommes intègres. Vous êtes tellement intègres et je vous aime tous.
Sudan is experiencing a genocide. Here's everything you need to know. It's a lot, so bear with me. Sudan plunged into civil war in April of 2023. And since then, hundreds of thousands of Sudanese people have been killed and millions have been displaced. All starts with the overthrow of Sudan's authoritarian government and their leader Omar al-Bashir in 2019. Sudan's people have been begging for a democratically elected government since Omar al-Bashir came into power in 1989. The overthrow of al-Bashir was perpetrated by two different groups: the RSF, the Rapid Support Forces led by a man named Hameti, the SAF, the Sudanese Armed Forces led by General Abdel Fattah al-Burhan. He promised that when al-Bashir was overthrown, a democratically elected government would be instated, but that never happened. Thousands of Sudanese people protested between 2019 and 2023, and thousands of Sudanese protesters were killed.
The former president of Burkina Faso, Paul Henry Dabiba, this man has been arrested in Togo and was extradited back to Ouagadougou, the capital of Burkina Faso. This is the man who said that there will be no peace in Burkina Faso since after Ibrahim Traore took over office. This man was the person who took over from a civilian government through a coup in 2022. And since he took over, the Islamic militancy in Burkina Faso got to the next level, thereby destabilizing government activities in the country, which this man could not control. As a result of that, this man, Ibrahim Traore, broke rank and plotted a coup against this man the same year, 2022, which overthrew the government of Damiba. Damiba fled into Togo, and since then, he has been trying his best to destabilize the government of Ibrahim Traore. This man has finally been arrested in Togo and was extradited back to Burkina Faso to face the law. The most interesting part of this whole thing is that if you look at the charges against this man while he was arrested in Togo down to Burkina Faso, there was nothing like coup against Ibrahim Traore's government. He was charged for money laundering, embezzlement of funds, and so many other crimes that were mentioned. The very latest military coup which was plotted by this man was just last month by this man against Ibrahim Traore, and it was foiled, and most of the people who were used to organize this coup were all arrested by Ibrahim Traore's government.
This fantasy some Nigerians keep repeating, that America and Israel are coming to divide Nigeria so everyone can go their way, is one of the most unserious narratives I've ever heard. Who exactly is feeding you people this kind of cinematic nonsense? This is why illiteracy is the problem, not religion, not tribe, because it takes a deep level of ignorance to believe such a storyline. If people actually used their brains for 5 seconds, they would ask basic questions. When did America or Israel ever declare that breaking up Nigeria is their foreign policy objective? How exactly would they achieve this? By bombing T groups in Sokoto once? By launching airstrikes against the Nigerian military? Does that sound even remotely realistic? Do you think they will arrest Tinubu, force the vice president to read a breakup declaration on TV, and then magically redraw the map? Is that how some of you think geopolitics works? Will the United Nations wake up one morning and announce, attention, Nigeria is now divided? Based on what authority? Under what process? And then there is the famous chanting, we want referendum. Okay, who will conduct this referendum? How will it be organized? Under whose constitution? And even if you get one, what changes the next day? How does that magically alter military, political, or constitutional reality? At this point, I genuinely want to study the average Nigerian brain, because the level of mental unseriousness is alarming. Instead of learning critical thinking, many prefer scrolling TikTok funyash videos or reading books on how to build men. A generation dedicated to entertainment and illusion, then wonder why nothing changes.
Ethiopia was never colonized, and it remains one of the poorest countries on the planet. Meanwhile, Singapore was colonized, and it is one of the richest countries on the planet. You can't blame colonization for all of Africa's problems. Africa has received around $2.6 trillion in aid since 1960. Put another way, this foreign aid is around 200 times the cost of the Marshall Plan that was used to rebuild Western Europe after it was devastated by World War II. If you took the Rose Bowl, which has a capacity of roughly 90,000 people, if you gave each of those 90,000 people a cut of that 2.6 trillion, they would each receive around $30 million. So why is Africa so far behind? What is so different between Ethiopia and Singapore? Well, one of the major factors is corruption. Africa remains one of the most corrupt regions on the planet. Meanwhile, Singapore is one of the least corrupt countries on the planet. And if we continue blaming this boogeyman of colonization forever and ever, Africa will never develop because the real problems will never be identified and addressed.
The United States is on Tinubu's neck again, saying that Nigerian government is not doing enough to protect Christian communities in Nigeria. That despite all the effort being made so far to cooperate with Nigerian security authorities in order to put an end to this incessant attack going on in the northeast and north central, which is mostly affecting Christians in Nigeria, that despite those efforts, that a whole lot of kidnapping and attacks has been going on from these bandits against Christians in those local areas. This report from the United States is coming as a result of the 170 worshippers who were abducted in Kaduna State. This is an incident that has once again heightened concern over religious motivated violence in Nigeria. The Kaduna State government and the police initially denied the abduction on Monday, but the police later reversed their position on Wednesday, confirming that the worshippers were actually taken. Speaking during a high-level U.S.-Nigeria working group meeting in Abuja on Thursday, U.S. Under Secretary for Political Affairs Alison Hooker said that while some progress had been made in recent months, recent attacks show that Nigeria must do more to guarantee the safety of Christians and their right to practice their faith freely. Hooker said, "Today we are here to discuss how we can work together to deter violence against Christian communities, prioritize counter-terrorism and insecurity, investigate attacks and hold perpetrators accountable, and reduce the number of buying, forced displacement and abduction of Christians, particularly in north-central states." In response, National Security Advisor Nuhu Ribadu acknowledged the gravity of security challenges and said that the government was intensifying military and law enforcement operations in affected areas. Guys, do you believe that Nigerian government is doing enough to stop this spying and kidnapping going on in Nigeria, especially in the north-central areas of the country? Let me know what you think in the comment, guys, and follow this page if you want more updates like this.
place. Egyptians literally refuse to acknowledge that they are in and a part of the continent they are in and a part of. There's no conversation to be had. It is countrywide delusion. You're telling me they were great enough to keep out African influence, but they weren't great enough to stop their colonization by the British? Even Ethiopia didn't get colonized. What are we talking about, bro?
So we have some major breaking news coming from France. And let me tell you, this one is going to open the eyes of all Africans. You won't believe that in France, the ministers in France now want Emmanuel Macron to step down immediately. They no longer want him to be the leader of France. Now, the reason is going to shock you. So one of the ministers is arguing that it was the fault of Macron for Africans to open their eyes and see that France was actually taking a lot of resources from Africa. Yes, this is breaking news. This is real. And they are not hiding it. They are saying it, that it was the fault of Emmanuel Macron of what has happened to the Sahel state, that is Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger. And they are saying that if Macron doesn't step down now and they correct that by trying to overthrow or teaching a lesson one of the Sahel states so that no other country is going to follow that, their children are going to suffer and they will have to come to Africa to look for fortune in the future. Just imagine. So these countries don't care about Africans. What do they care about? They care about themselves. And now they are saying that they have to teach a lesson one of the African states so that they no longer try to remove France from those countries.
I don't like to give puppets too much attention. They only piss me off every once in a while and then I speak on them. It's best to actually just speak about people like Ibrahim Traore, the confederation that's now formed in West Africa. Our people in Burkina Faso, our people in Mali, our people in Niger have to hold on. They have to be strong. They have to know that whatever they are investing in now will bring rewards, will be fruitful.
They will prosper in this. Just give it some time. Everything will prosper.
Liberation is not cheap. Liberation is not easy.
It's hard.
It's hard. You got to fight for it. That's why we take the time to sit here and say we support Burkina Faso. We support the people of Mali and Niger. We support that confederation.
For sure.
We have to sing loud. We have to speak loud. We have to come out here unapologetically with our tone, because it will protect these particular leaders in the West Africa.
Yep.
You see, once the Western powers or these imperialistic countries up there, these colonizers, as they see the entire African community rooting for this confederation, they'll say to themselves, we can't try any shit here. Otherwise, the entire freaking continent will have a way with us. They'll be so pissed. You want to say Kenyan protests are hectic? If you touch those leaders in West Africa, in Burkina Faso, Mali, or Niger, the entire freaking African community will be pissed. That's why we have to continue to say to them and to show to them that, hey, those are our people. You understand what I'm saying? You shall leave them alone. You will not do to these people what you did to Thomas Sankara.
That is never going to happen.
Or to Patrice Lumumba.
Never.
You understand what I'm saying? Yeah. Hello.
How can Morocco, Algeria, Tunisia, Egypt be in North Africa, be in Africa, and be part of the Arab League? How does that make any sense? And out of these Arab-leaning states in Africa, only Libya under Gaddafi apologized for slavery. Gaddafi apologized on the behalf of Arabs, for Arab slavery, because the Arabs and Muslims have been gaslighting and rage-baiting black people about that 1,200 years of slavery. They don't want to account for it. Colonialism, imperialism in East Africa and in Africa itself. The original Amazigh, the black Amazigh, are marginalized in North Africa. If African people, African states were smart, they wouldn't allow Morocco to get access to Western Sahara, because that's an extremely important part for African history. But we're not forward looking. So we allowed Morocco, who leans elsewhere, who looks elsewhere, to now gain access to Western Sahara when you got Mauritania. Well, Mauritania now is trying to be North African, but you got Senegal and all of these Western African countries that should really lay hold and lay claim to Western Sahara, because it's an extremely important part of our history, that Western Sahara bit. But we don't even know, we don't even care.
This is some sad news about South Africa. South Africa has been ranked as one of the most miserable countries in the entire world. According to the Mental State of the World report from the Global Mind Project, South Africans are the third unhappiest nation on the planet. We are behind the UK and Uzbekistan at number 1. This was an extensive study based on surveys involving 400,000 people across 71 countries. South Africa got a mental health quotient score of 50 out of 100, which is very low. These are currently the happiest countries in the world, with the Dominican Republic topping the list. So what is it that's making South Africans so miserable? Is it load shedding, crime, unemployment, the proteas? Let me know what you think.
Thank you, beautiful and amazing souls, for listening and watching the entire clips. And guys, let me start analyzing this. I mean, is it true that South Africa is the third most unhappiest country in the world? Do you want to tell me that the mental states of South Africans is that bad? Guys, as an African, I know that South Africa is the most developed in Africa. Now, coming in to hear that they are the third in the list of the unhappiest, the saddest, people in the world, it shocks me. It shocks us, of course, because I didn't expect that. Probably, I expected a country like Burundi, because they are always in the list of like the poorest, and of course on that you cannot blame the Burundians themselves. We are going to blame the government of Burundi. So many investors have been in Burundi. They don't even last 10 years. They close down their branches there. What is really happening in Burundi? We need to investigate that and get to understand. And also, you all know that Ethiopia is in the year 2018. Guys, make that make sense, because you want to tell me that there could possibly be other countries that are probably ahead of 2026 or behind 2026? I mean, what is happening in the world? I thought it would be beautiful if we were all in the same year, only a difference of hours. But here, Ethiopia is in 2018. And actually, Ethiopia is the host country for African Union offices. Yeah. And that is because they were never ever colonized, by the way. I hope you will follow up on that story to understand more. Ethiopia is the only country in Africa that was never colonized. And other African countries, they were inspired by Ethiopia. That's why you could see the uprising of movements here in Africa, fighting the colonial powers, wanting freedom that has never been bestowed on us till date. Because the freedom that they were given was the freedom to hold or to raise a flag and a national anthem. But behind the scenes, they are still controlling us, and we are not happy about it, because we want an independent Africa. We want an Africa that is independent, that has options, and a united one, of course. Each and every time we get a leader that is for a united Africa, they start a lot of negative narratives about them. Example being Muammar Gaddafi. Muammar Gaddafi was fighting for a one currency in Africa. He wanted us not to trade in dollar, euro, any other currency, none other than an African currency. And that is because an African currency meant that the economy of Africa is going to be uplifted. If you actually get to research more about the life and the economy of Libya, it was much better when Muammar Gaddafi was alive. If you went to school, in university, probably in another country, it will be catered for by the government. Hospitals were free and functional, the public ones. Schools were functional. It was beautiful. Oil price was really, really affordable. But now it's a country that is used to for slave trade activities. Sad indeed, sad. So recently, Burkina Faso bought some buses, just normal buses for the country, and that is to enhance public transport. Guys, I want to tell you that a military-led government is better than a democratic-led government. For a democratic-led government, a lot of strategic plans, they have to go through layers of processes, and these layers at some point, they are taken to court, discussed, and things get to wait for a very long period of time, and that means that they don't get to be done at the end of the day. But for military-led countries like Niger, Mali, Burkina Faso, they are actually catching up with some of the countries like Kenya, South Africa. For them, they said no to colonization. We don't want control again. We want our independence. And what has really helped Burkina Faso is a strategic plan that they follow, and they deliver according to the strategic plan. It's not like they are coming up with a plan, they are discussing it, they have to ask whether it will go through or not, then the funding their projects are strategically delivered according to how it was planned. And that is beautiful because Burkina Faso has really grown economically. Remember, they have their own electric cars that they manufacture in Burkina Faso. It's beautiful, guys. Thank you if you watched the clip up to this point. I appreciate your presence. I'll see you in the next one. Ciao.